Welcome back, everybody. Dan Bickley here. Tim Ring filling in for Vinny. Good news from Vinny post-surgery. He says he's groggy and sore like a hangover without all the fun parts. There you go. Hang in there, Vinny. And a big shout out to all our great listeners in Sun City. As promised, the can't-miss segment of the week, our great friend Mark Schlereth joins us.
Speaking of hungover.
Oh,
I'm just teasing him. I'm just teasing him.
What's happening, Mark?
How are we doing, guys?
What up?
Mark Schlereth, the great Mark Schlereth. So, now, Mark, we had a game in Indianapolis where Jacoby Brissett steps in for Kyler Murray, and the entire offense looked different because he stayed in the pocket. He didn't duck and run too early, spread the ball around. I'm not sure if you got to see any of it. What do the Cardinals do in a situation like this when everything Kyler Murray doesn't do in the pocket was kind of laid bare by his replacement?
Yeah, well, what have I told you for the last several years? How do you win consistently? And I know you didn't win the game, but Indianapolis is a really good team. But what have I said for the last couple of years? Yeah, boring is what wins in the National Football League. Being in the pocket, taking what a defense gives you, keeping you on schedule. And I understand that scrambling around and, throwing one deep or, getting a big gain and all that kind of stuff, that makes Sports Center highlights, but ultimately you lose football games. And so, at some point you either have to impress upon Kyler Murray that this is the way we're going to play the game. This is how we're going to do it. And if that's not the style with which you want to play with, then we're going to have to move on. Yeah. And I'm not saying that Jacoby Brissett is the answer because he's not. If Jacoby Brissett's the answer, the question is, who's a decent backup quarterback?
Yes.
He's not because he's not a starter, but he's a really good backup. But you can learn the way the game needs to be played by watching him play. And it's something that Kyler, in my opinion, that needs to be the next step or the next progression in his career. If you want to have longevity and you want to lead a team to, do the playoffs and all those things, you have to play with a different style than you currently play with.
Hey, Mark, let me tap into your former player perspective on this next question. I know what guys say publicly, but I'm really curious of what the conversations are like privately in the locker room when the guys are together. If there's even a whiff of a question of which quarterback currently on the roster gives us the best chance to win, what are those conversations like as a team kind of navigates through something like this?
Those things, like you have some, occasional private conversations, just you and a couple of the guys or whatever. One thing that drives you crazy as an offensive lineman is a guy that takes multiple sacks that you get blamed for, because nothing good happens to you as an offensive lineman, right? Like we can have the greatest game in the world. Your running back can rush for 200. Your quarterback cannot get touched and throw for 300. And you're nothing more than a tagline at the end of it. Like, hey, man, got to thank the big guys up front. Now let's talk about how great I was, right? But you give up one sack, in a pivotal situation, and you're garbage. And so there's a lot of things that go with playing and playing well as in a team sport. But man, ultimately you want to win and you want to be productive. And the other thing is you want to be on schedule. Like there is nothing worse than being second down and long and third down and long for an entire game, because it just takes everything off the plate. Like playing the game is hard enough as it is, but when you're playing from third down and long all the time or second down and long all the time, it is such an arduous task, because you become very predictable as an offense. And when you're predictable as an offense, there's not a whole lot of things you can do other than just kind of sit there and take it. You don't get to dictate to the defense. You don't get to be the aggressor. You don't get to take the passive out of pass protection. You just have to sit there and get your brains beat in when you're predictable. And that's never a fun way to play this game.
All right, it's a wild year in the NFL. Up is down. You're looking at if most power rankings are out, it's probably the Colts and the Buccaneers. The MVP might be Baker Mayfield. It might be Daniel Jones. Whereas these other traditionally great teams are struggling. The Patriots might win that division over the Bills. What do you make of what we're seeing this year? Is this a year of a winds of change kind of year in the NFL?
I think, if you want parity, you're going to get it. And that's what the NFL, says they want. I think part of it also is the amount of injuries that we just seem to get more and more injuries throughout the league, pivotal injuries. So you lose players, and then the lack of development, like the young players that you have to put in their place are not ready to play. And so those guys aren't any good. And, and I think a lot of it can point to the last collective bargaining agreement where we actually bargained skill out of the game. And so, that's what you do. The owners are like, we'll give up practice time, but we want to keep our money. And the players are like, all right, well, we can't get the money. So we'll just take what we can, which is just scraps, which is lack of practice time. And I just think you've actually made the game less skilled than it's probably ever been. And then the other thing is you can't get good at anything without doing that thing. So you can practice, in shorts and T-shirts and run around and do all those things. And you can feel pretty good about the accomplishment that you make in practice when you're in shorts and T-shirt. But the game isn't played that way. It's played in full pads and people hit each other. And so it's just there's a real difference in, developing that skill, developing enough kinesthetic awareness to be good at what you do and to be able to push on another 300-pound guy. And when he changes direction, you change direction, and all those things. That's a skill that you have to work on and develop. And I think it's one of the reasons that every time you look up, another guy tears an ACL, another guy tears an Achilles tendon. I don't have any info on it, but I don't know. I've been watching this game for a long time. I've played it for a long time. I've never seen in the last couple of years more devastating season-ending injuries than I've seen in the last few years. And so there's got to be a correlation to the fact that we don't actually work at being good at the game.
It's a great point.
Yeah, Mark, and one more quick one for you. Just going back to the Cardinals real quick. They got the Packers coming in. Bick and I all morning have been kind of trying to kick around the Packers, just how good they are or why they're not perhaps the dominant team that maybe they could be. Where's your perspective at when it comes to Jordan Love and this Green Bay Packer team, a team that has a really good rushing defense coming into Sunday?
Yeah, you know what? I've watched them a couple times early in the season. I thought they were the best team in football. I had them. I had a team that played them a week before I called one of their games, and they were like fastest defense I've ever seen. Like the fastest defense. Their coordinator was like, that defense is so fast, unbelievable pass rush ability, and just tons of guys in their front seven. Is like I said, the fastest defensive team I've seen in person. So they are uber talented. I think they've got a bunch of young, really talented players. They run the ball. They usually run the ball pretty well. They're pretty physical. I think they have a chance, and they dropped a couple that you probably shouldn't drop, but I think they have a chance to be the best team in the league.
Great stuff as always, Mark. Really appreciate your time. Have yourself a great Wednesday.
You too, guys.
Thanks, Mark.
Everybody. The one, the only Mark Schlereth is joining us live from the Casino Arizona and Talking Stick Resort Studios.
Thanks for watching Bickley and Marotta. Click to see the latest Bickley Blast and hit the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.